answer is probably the same for me as it is for you watching at home. I'm sure all have similar stories. Records in the living room when we were growing up, I'm guessing. That's how it was for me. It probably was the same for you. Although I had a bit of an advantage in that my parents were deadheads and would travel all up and down California. And they would go to record stores and I would go with them. I would just kind of hang out with the owners of the stores while my parents were looking for records. And people were always really nice to me. They'd give me stickers and just kind of talk to me and entertain me because I was really little. From the time I was a young girl, before I even had hips or anything, I thought of record stores as really warm, nice, welcoming places to go and to hang out. And that is still true to this day. Probably my whole life, although I only started really buying them when I was probably in middle school, and I started to get more of, I got an increase in my allowance and I was able to afford them. I would just go in different phases throughout my life, different styles that I was interested in. But really, once I started getting an allowance, probably like towards the end of 5th grade into 6th grade, I remember I got a big jump in my allowance for some reason. And so I would spend a lot of that money on records. Then I would kind of forget about it for a little while, and I'd be into other things, and I'd come back to it. Before that, I would just take my parents' records and kind of hoard them in my room and look at the covers and look at the back, the artwork, look at the names on them. I remember I started recognizing some of the names on there. Robert Hunter, who was a songwriter for the Grateful Dead, I remember his name popping up over and over again on Dead albums. And then that was just the first memory I have. And then after that I would start seeing, the same names on different records. So over the years, I've never gotten rid of a record, though. Never, ever. I don't know. People ask me this question all the time, and I try to estimate, but I'm not good at looking at something and estimating how much of that are in there. Like the jelly beans in the jar thing. It could be 100, it could be 10,000, I wouldn't know. Same thing with records, although I do have the IKEA shelves. So I have a 1x5 of those, I have a 2x2, a 2x4, another 2x2, and then I have just random crates on my living room floor, just out of frame here, leaned up against my turntable setup, leaned up against other bookshelves, leaned up against my couch, leaned up against my desk. All over the place I have records in here. My little apartment is stuffed full of records. But I don't know how many I have. I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me, I guess. All I know is I have tons. I'm knee deep in records. Everything. Everything. Bluegrass, doom, doomgrass, which is a super obscure, up-and-coming genre out of the UK right now. You heard it here first. Just everything. Everything. I go through phases where I'm really into a particular label for whatever reason. My brain is so random. I'll be watching TV, right? Eddie Money. There's that creepy Eddie Money insurance commercial. Eddie Money will remind me of the producer Bruce Botnick, which I'm sure he does for you as well. Bruce Botnick produced The Doors, and he produced Love. This is actually a reissue. Forgive me, please. I wish I could find an original. My dad actually had an original pressing. He doesn't know what he did with it. Anyway, seeing Eddie Money on TV will remind me of just random stuff like that. And so I'll pull out my Love record. I'll pull out the few Doors records I have. I'm not too into the Doors. I feel like the Doors are super, super overrated, but I feel like everyone in LA has to pretend like they love the Doors. Kind of like Kendrick Lamar. Seems like a nice kid, no offense, Ken, but I don't see what the big fuss is about, honestly. I think there's just a lack of other things out there right now for people to be into. That for me though is not enough to buy any of his albums. Anyway, yeah, I collect everything because of my crazy random brain that draws connections between things. What do my friends and family think of my collecting? I think they see it with kind of begrudging tolerance. They share my enthusiasm, or at least they pretend they are good at acting, when I, tell them that I found that JJ Doom album or whatever. They like it, I think. They think it's rad. I mean, I was raised by music nerds, so they, I think, like it. Let's see. Let's see. My mom says, I think it's great, sweetie, but I don't like it when you have to move. We've all been there, right? My mother just, I think, articulated the perils of being a friend or family member of a record hoarder. When you have to announce that you're moving, and everybody's like, great, yay. There's a lot of stairs where I live, too. This is Amoeba receipts. This is October. I actually just went today where I got this. Yeah, it's a problem, you guys. It's a big problem. I spend a lot of money. Look, I'm very thin, you guys. I spend my grocery money on records. Yeah, probably between $200 and $400. It's bad. It's a problem. Anyway, so yeah, I'm probably going to quit really soon because I cannot maintain this level, even though I have been for the last 15 years of my life. Until then, please send money because I need to buy more records. Thanks! Why, pray tell, do I collect vinyl? Obviously, I collect vinyl because you can't hug an MP3.